There are some days on the road that feel almost too good to be true. And starting out our adventure in Huntsville, Alabama at NASA definitely feels like one of them. But travel has a way of humbling you fast. Because over the next 2 days, we're headed into hot, humid weather, and we'll be finally tackling a van life fix that Bob has wanted and needed to do for years. 8 months ago, we left behind normal life to chase this dream of seeing all 50 states by van. But stretches like this remind us just how quickly things can change. We literally just finished filming in Georgia, and Bob is making us turn the camera right back on 2 hours later because now we're in Alabama going to somewhere
that I have wanted to go since I was a little kid. So quick backstory while we're getting ready here. There was a book, it was blue. What? It had really cool pictures in it. It contained the Saturn V rocket and all of like the space stuff with, we were gonna go to the Mars and all these, colonize the moon. And so then when we were doing some research and I saw that there's a Saturn V rocket here, I was like, yeah, I have to go. And
okay, so why did NASA pick Alabama?
Honestly, that is probably my #1 question.
Because when you told me about it, I'm like, wait. We're going to a NASA museum.
I would have expected, like, if you were at Cape Canaveral or Mission Control, I think it's Houston or wherever that is in Texas. It's like, I would have expected the NASA museum to be there, but I don't understand why Huntsville. So I hope to learn that.
Yep. And this is a total, like, Bob just really wants to do it video. And so we're doing it. Yeah. Like, hopefully this is something you have wanted to see yourself. My only regret is that we don't have our boys with us, but our boys are adults and they can come on their own. The rocket that took humans to the moon was actually designed right here in Alabama, which is why Huntsville is called Rocket City. Most people think NASA is only in Florida or Texas.
That would be me.
But the rocket that took humans to the moon was designed right here in Alabama. So I'm looking things up, guys. I'm getting us ready because this is the first time I've ever even known that NASA was here. The reason NASA is in Huntsville, Alabama, it goes back to the space race of the 1950s and 60s. After World War II, the U.S. brought German rocket scientist
Wernher von Braun
and his team to America to help develop rockets. They were first sent to Redstone Arsenal, a military base in Huntsville. So, according to Google, they chose Huntsville because it already had a large Army weapons testing facility and it had space to test rockets safely. And the government owned the land. That's huge. So that whole thing would go to the moon?
Well, no.
Oh.
It had stages, and so as it flew, it would drop pieces off.
And apparently it's $30 a person to get in.
So here's what I was telling you.
Okay.
Here's the different stages of the rocket. And so as it's shooting up, each piece is falling off. But what I found really interesting is the height difference. It's really hard to tell just looking at it from here. But the Saturn V rocket's 363 feet tall compared to the Statue of Liberty, which is only 305 feet tall. So that's 60 feet tall. And the shuttle is only 184 feet tall. So that's crazy how much height difference there is.
In front of you is a full-scale model of the Apollo Saturn V vehicle. Since its dedication on July 17, 1999, the model has become an iconic and celebrated landmark for Huntsville and its skyline. There are 3 Saturn V's left in existence.
I had this once as a kid and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the entire world. And I have not had it since.
I think we need to get one so you can try it and see if it's just as good as you thought.
We definitely. On the way out, we will do that.
No, you're good.
No, that scared me. I was like,
y'all are good.
All right,
Take
thank you.
around the corner to the left. Y'all enjoy y'all's afternoon.
Thank you. Man, there's so many noises that are just so intense. like right here, and it's moving that way.
Oh, well, we might get some bad weather. If you're into weather, you should come here.
If you like weather, my goodness.
Weather Command Center right now, Bob.
I mean, you can see weather for the entire planet.
That's where we are right now, Alabama.
So we're up kind of here. I lost you.
I lost you. Look at, this is probably like real life in space, what you live in?
I would assume something similar. And then obviously sleeping pods. Oh, they can grow plants upside down. That makes sense.
And then look at all this stuff up top. Oh, because you're floating.
Yeah, you can reach up there and have storage.
Personal items, fecal cans, what is that?
So when you go to the bathroom,
No.
you put it in a can.
No. No.
Yep. And I don't know if they still do it, but I know they used to launch them back to Earth and they would burn up in the atmosphere. Oh, this must be like the generations of rockets.
Who knew we were coming to like an amusement park?
I did not know that. I thought we were just coming to see a couple little, see the Saturn V rocket and like ooh and ah at it. See, the space shuttle is right here. The first space shuttle was Columbia. I did not know that. And it launched in 1981. So we were like 3.
Speak for yourself. I was 2. From rockets to shuttles. Okay, so what is this thing right here?
That's the liquid fuel rocket. You have the solid rocket boosters on the side. That's what initially launches and falls off, and they're reusable. Then the main fuselage is liquid. That gets it up into orbit, and then that falls back into the ocean and breaks up. And then the space shuttle sits on top. So it kind of like rides along with it into orbit. So it takes along its own liquid oxygen. So you have liquid oxygen in the front, liquid hydrogen in the back, and then you have your solid rocket boosters. Pathfinder. You can kind of see here, it attaches right here. I recall that those are solid rocket boosters. That's for liftoff. They fall off. Then the red tank rides with, and maybe those engines are what burn?
The space shuttle main engines ignited at 6.6 seconds before launch and shut off at about T plus 8:30 minutes. And it said space shuttle main engine by the numbers. Length 14 feet, diameter 7.5 feet, weight 7,775 pounds, thrust at sea level 418,000 pounds.
I find it kind of crazy that people were like, hey, strap me to the top of that 300-foot tall rocket and launch me into space. Like, that's a good idea.
So you're saying you would say no?
I probably would do it,
I would,
but I do think it's crazy. I still think it's crazy. I still would do it though. Which is the US's first intercontinental ballistic missile. Would be a ballistic missile? I always think of them as much bigger than that. My favorite part, that thing is so huge. I was really hoping you could see up farther into there. Just think of the heat and pressure that would be exposed to.
I mean, we're definitely not going to do this justice. You need to come here if you're really into this stuff.
Yep. So the V2 rocket is where it's all started. That's what I wanted to see.
Really?
Yep.
That's it.
So there's the beginning, and then up here is the end. What a change. Like, look at how big this is, where it started, and look how big that is where it ended. That's pretty impressive. Very cool timeline of the 40s and 50s all the different milestones. Like you said, there's no way we could do this justice in a few minutes. Yeah, you have to be a little guy to get in there. I don't think I would fit.
Oh wow, look at that. It looks like an Airstream.
Oh, it's the mobile quarantine facility.
I literally am too tall. Oh wow. Oh my God. Whoa.
Hey, there's a wall there.
I guess you don't get to go through the whole thing. Wow.
We can hang out over here.
So this is where the RV world and NASA connects.
That makes sense.
I know, I'm making that up. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm like, Airstream, RV. Look at it. It says Airstream right there. To protect Earth from contamination, NASA quarantined the Apollo crews and lunar samples for 3 weeks after liftoff from the moon. The trip back to Earth counted as the first few days of the quarantine period. After splashdown, the crew continued to quarantine in a modified Airstream trailer known as the Mobile Quarantine Facility. Had no idea.
You can see. There it is right there. And so for anybody who wants to know, this is what I used in the Air Force. That's called the K loader. It's a 40K. We'd load that up. Yeah, look at right here. And this is a C-141.
They built 4 of these for the Apollo missions 11 through 14, but the Apollo 13 crew didn't use theirs because they never landed on the moon. Then NASA canceled the quarantine after Apollo 14 because no moon germs had turned up.
Wow, here is the Apollo 16 command module.
4th through 6th grade came to Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow.
First pilot program of space.
You have to be, I wouldn't say tiny, but man, you are crammed in there for sure. Hey, Hillary. So, look at the tires.
Yes.
Do you notice that they're not like tube tires?
Yeah, they're like metal. Why?
Because if they were full of air, they would blow up in space. They had to figure out a way to create suspension and allow the tire to flex so that it would be a smoother ride and have traction. So this is the 2-piece, right? So the top module is what they flew back on and connected. They don't have it here, I don't see it, but they reconnected and come to land. The bottom half is what they landed with and created a base for them. And they left this on the moon, they left the car on the moon, and that's where the crew is, literally on the very top cone.
No way.
Yep.
That's it?
That top cone is that top cone.
It is a warm one. It's 79 degrees out in Huntsville, Alabama.
I have to enjoy this while we are sitting here staring at the Saturn V rocket.
That's your goal?
Yes, this is the Neapolitan ice cream sandwich. And I just love what it says. Enjoy this delicious treat just like the astronauts do. Available in a variety of tempting intergalactic flavors.
So you said you tried one of these as a kid.
As a kid, I had this.
This is real ice cream, it says.
Is it broken?
Freeze-dried, ready-to-eat space food.
Wow, look at this. Look at. I mean, see those colors? Okay.
All right, Bob's trying it.
Here goes some amazing goodness. And hard. It's good, but not as good as I remember it. So
When you were a kid.
it's pretty tasty.
When you remove the water from ice cream, what do you have? A delicious, crunchy, yet creamy sweetness that melts in your mouth, sandwiched between 2 chocolatey wafer cookies. It's not bad.
You're eating all the chocolate.
All right. We gotta figure out where we're staying for the night.
Well, but first we need to go look at the SR-71.
Oh.
We're going to drive there.
Oh.
It's farther back behind
We've been
us.
walking all day. We hiked this morning.
I know. My knee hurts.
Mine does too. So what is this?
You don't know what this is?
No.
This is the fastest flying, highest flying manned aircraft in the entire world. Its top speed and max altitude are still classified.
Really?
The people that would fly this would have to wear spacesuits because they would pop in and out of space.
So what is it doing here?
It's on display. Let's do it.
I'm gonna set this one out.
Aww.
It's just you and them.
It's just us. I'm gonna run over here, take a look at the SR-71 Blackbird. If I remember right, it was in the 60s, like late 60s, I think, when they developed this thing. It's so crazy to me. Just makes you wonder what they're doing today. Wow. All titanium body. Would leak fuel on the ground when it was sitting there. They'd have to immediately refuel once it took off because the tanks wouldn't seal until the plane got hot. Okay, Hillary, on screen, put how fast and how high this thing flies because it's just so cool. I mean, the shape is just something crazy. Let's see if I can get a good shot, kind of right down the nose. So cool. Bye, Saturn V rocket. It was great to see you. And now we are headed south.
Well, that was the worst night's sleep I've ever had. Yeah, we're at a Cracker Barrel in Alabama. It was the loudest. I don't know if I'm going to blame myself or this place, but we didn't stay over where the RVs were last night because they were running a generator.
And the other benefit of being here was that it was dark, so that when we opened our windows, we didn't have as much light coming in. And that led to the next problem, or the biggest problem.
What was the biggest problem? I have a lot of them.
The biggest problem, in my opinion, was about every, I don't know, it seemed random, hour to 2 hours. Mm-hmm. There was this like PA announcement that was like echoey and so mumbly that you couldn't actually even understand what it said.
It sounded scary. Like it was like, I just wish we would have caught it on camera.
We couldn't because it was so random. It wasn't like oh, at the top of every hour like a church bell or something. It was like,
but it almost sounded like, to me, like somebody was breaking into a business and they had like a loudspeaker to be like, stop what you're doing, don't go in. Like, I don't know, like it was scary. It woke us up. At least it woke me up every single time. I think I heard it at least 5 times. Obviously, we have to have the windows open. It is so stinking muggy in Alabama, which presents a whole new problem because I don't know that I could do this again.
You mean boondocking in Alabama again?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It was like an 88% humidity.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The humidity, for me, it wasn't necessarily the temperature. It's the humidity that's really high. I mean, I know we were in Florida, but this is still higher than when we were even in Florida.
We looked this place up on RV Parky, and we read all the reviews like we always do. We always read the reviews for safety and for like comfort, right? And to see what other people are saying. And I mean, this didn't get amazing reviews, but not one person talked about this loudspeaker going off all night. And then we were so dumb. We parked next to a trash can. So of course, like 5:30 this morning, they're like taking out the trash right by my window and like throwing something away and like trash compacting it from like, I think it ran for 30 minutes.
Well, I think what you're talking about, the 30-minute piece, was I think it was a vac truck that showed up to clean out their grease trap, I think.
Oh.
And so that's why that like vacuum pump was running. It ran for like 45 minutes.
Okay, so all that to say, our complaining for the last 5 minutes. With that said, it's time to get up. I think we should redeem this Cracker Barrel by going and having breakfast.
Well, yeah, it needs to redeem itself.
It has to. Let's go have some breakfast in Cracker Barrel. And then I think you have a van project that needs to be done today.
We do. Can't wait. I'm actually looking forward to getting this fixed. This is something that has been on my mind for a long time.
I have doubts that he could fix it, if I'm being honest. I'm just like,
What?
Because like you ordered a part in Arizona, a $90 part, took it apart and only brought one little section of it, and that's supposed to work.
They'll just have to wait and see. They'll understand why, but just hang in there. We'll be back. I'll show you what not to do to your van.
Yeah. So, boondocking in Alabama, check. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do it again. I've been looking up state parks today and RV parks. I'm just like, I don't think this is going to work for me. This boondocking thing in Alabama, which stinks because it's, pricey.
Ever since installing the luminous tire carrier on the back of the van, I have been getting an alarm on the dash for an out license plate light. Let me show you. So every time I turn on the lights, here's what happens. License plate light out. And I get this alarm right here. What's annoying is even when I turn the lights off, it stays there. So this is 100% my fault. When I installed the Illuminous on the back of the van, I remember saying, oh, I'll fix that problem later. And I just never did. And today, we're gonna change that. So let me show you what I've got wired up right here. The mistake that I made is when I installed the rear license plate holder, I installed this LED and then I wired it up here, and I used one of the connectors here for the tail light. It's really, really hard to see, but you can see the driver's side is off, the passenger side is on, because I stole the wire to then bring it down over here. And so that's what I need to change today. So I think what's going on is that the vehicle is detecting that there's not enough voltage pull. I'm sure that that LED is way more efficient and it's not pulling enough amperage to have the van detect that it's working. This is quite a bit of effort to get back here, to get to that wiring. And I had to order some special parts. I'll show that to you once I get in there, but let me get into this. When I installed the license plate light on the Illuminous tire carrier, I thought it would be a good idea to snip this end off as close as possible so that it have as much wire to then run it down to the LED. Well, two problems with that. One, it wasn't long enough to actually even work, so I had to extend the wire. Two, by cutting this off, I had to take out this light fixture. And then I thought, well, I'll take out this fixture, I'll cut this wire as close as possible, and then I'll just plug it in and it'll work fine. It does work, but I get an alarm on the dash. So in order to alleviate that, I'm going to reinstall this. But because I snipped this so short, I had to go and buy this $90 wiring harness because I could not find this little end online. And everybody says, oh, it's so easy to find. No, it's not. I looked and looked and looked, I could not. I will be able to use a piece of this wiring harness so that I can have this wire plug it in, if I can, let's see, plug it in to the original light fixture, and then splice it and add in these little wire connectors so that I can have 3 wires on that circuit. Sounds easy, or at least I think it sounds easy, but the problem is actually getting into this panel. So this is the driver's side door panel. That wiring harness runs right across here. And you think, oh, we'll just pop these out and it's super easy. It's a real challenge. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate doing this. I've done this twice or 3 times, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna break this panel. Yikes! Honestly, removing this panel was one of the things I was most concerned with because I was afraid I was gonna break it. So good news is I didn't. Not yet anyway. So this wire, this is the light that sits kind of behind where the old license plate used to sit right here. So this would be the passenger side, and this is the driver's side wire that ran over to this side. So I think what I wanna do is actually snip the wire here and then add in the connector and put that back over there. So this is the wiring harness literally for like 90 bucks that I purchased, but what I really wanted was essentially this half of it. So I've decided I'm gonna cut it kind of right here. That gives me the maximum length. I think I'm gonna cut it right there. Just cut $90 in half. I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do is reinstall this light fixture right back in here where it goes. I will reinstall this here, kind of like that. Then I'll plug the other side to this light, and then I will make my connection over here with my little connectors, and then grab this wire from the LED tail light, and then hopefully we'll test it. So, okay, that took way too much time, but what I found was where each of the wires for both the right and left license plate light met up and then joined into one. And the reason I wanted to do that was so that I could take the new harness and tie those together right there at that point. These are cool little connectors. So they just have these little flip things. So you lift them up, you can put wires in there. If you want to change something, makes it easy. And you can see there's a little metal bus across the back. So all of them will be on the same circuit when they're connected. Okay, so now that I have essentially rewired it stock, so both of the license plate lights should work that are incandescent. They're wired up through these little connectors, and I should be able to go turn on the van, turn on the lights, and not get an alarm, and these 2 lights should be on. The LED light for the actual license plate light is not wired up yet, but I want to test this, make sure it works first, rule that out, and then I will add this into that circuit. The doors are open in the back, so that's why that light's on, but I'm going to turn these on. Oh, they were on when I turned it on. I left it on. And you can see both lights are now on, so now I just need to rewire this into the system. That's all together. That's all together. Let me put this cover. I need to put this cover back on. All right, this is broken. This little back piece right here where it like holds on. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get this to stay on. I think I'm gonna just use some good old fashioned duct tape, but hopefully I have some. Before I go and figure out how to secure the lens cover for that lamp, I've got this all wired up, so I might as well test it, make sure that it all works. Then I can close all this up and figure out exactly what I want to do. Where's the key? Did I give you the key? Definitely need this in order to start it. Okay. Front left door open. Yep, we know. let's go look at our lights. These two lights are on. That's good news. The most important one, that's on. Okay, all I have left to do now is secure the lens cover and button everything back up. Got everything secured, everything looks nice. So now I'm going to put this back panel on. All right, it is done. It's all back together. So after several years of having that alarm on the dash, we finally have that resolved. I'm actually really happy that I no longer have to look at that light when we're driving at night. So I just finished doing the project where I was fixing the service light that I was getting for the out license plate light on the van. And I tried to turn on the air conditioner for Hillary because she was working and it's getting hot. And all of a sudden, everything stopped working. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but there's a handful of problems that it could be. In the past, I know I've kind of talked about some inverter problems that we've been having. It had not been giving us any trouble, but today, I mean, I don't know what the temperature is. Today it's 81 degrees.
We only ever have had issues with our inverter in the heat.
Right.
And we're literally going to the Gulf.
So this is the first time that we've had the van in 80-degree weather
I think.
since Texas, I think. It's been so long, and we haven't had any issues for quite a while.
Well, and we haven't, honestly, when's the last time we tried to run the air?
Well, I don't know. But as soon as I turned it on, and it probably ran for, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden I heard a click, click, and everything turned off. I'm hoping it's a fuse. Worst case, it could be the inverter, but we don't have shore power because we're literally, as you can see, in a parking lot. And we needed to finish our projects so that we could head down south. Worst case scenario is we've got a blown fuse somewhere in the system and I'm gonna have to troubleshoot all the fuses until I can figure out which one it is. And what's a little concerning is the solar is not charging the batteries. So a couple of things that I have checked. One, solar charge controller is like blinking, which tells me that it is not charging the battery. The battery is fine. I was able to turn it on, turn it off. I was able to connect to it through the LITHIONICS app. So everything is working there and we're fine. So that really leaves a fuse or the inverter that is the problem. And I don't have, or at least I thought I had, a multimeter to test stuff. Could be up there. I need to check up there, but if I don't have a multimeter, then I have to go buy one so that we can do some testing so that I can then replace the fuse. Because we don't have a water pump.
We don't?
No.
Oh my God.
We don't have any 12-volt power. That's what that's what's worrisome.
He didn't find a multimeter in here. So we're going over to this store called Marvin's. Oh my gosh, guys, this is, I don't even have words for this.
I have words, they're just not nice ones.
All right, Bob just texted me from Marvin's. The digital multimeter is like $62. So I saw there's a Walmart right down the road and I think they would be cheaper there. So we're gonna go try that out. This kind of stuff wears me down. It's just scary that we could just have these kind of issues. And I don't know, our propane's already not working. And now we just blew some sort of fuse.
All right, this was only 20 bucks at Walmart. It'll test what we need to.
Let's see what's going on.
I'm gonna move to the kind of the back side of the parking lot, get out of everybody's way where there's not as much like oil and nasty on the ground.
Because you have to go under the van?
Because I need to lay underneath the back of the van. So our electrical bus is outside the van, which I hate, but it is, and it's where the spare tire would normally sit in the ProMaster. I can't see anything around that corner.
You're good.
Okay. We'll just come back over here.
So are you going to be able to just find what fuse needs to be replaced?
Yes. My hope is it's only one of a couple of options. I'm going to try to find a spot that's no grease on the ground. There's only a couple of locations that it could be, so I'm gonna go and check those first and hope that I find it. And then if I do, then I can take the fuse off, figure out what size it is, and we'll go and find a new one. I just don't know who's gonna carry that style fuse, but that's another problem for another day. All right, guys, I'm breaking in because we did a terrible job of filming. We were under so much stress trying to figure out what was going on with the van, and we had just really reached our limit. So to kind of circle back, what happened is we went to Walmart. I purchased a multimeter so that I could test all of the fuses in the van to try to figure out what was going on. And I was able to find that the main fuse on our Lithionics battery had blown. Here is the fuse, and this fuse, it was basically the root of all the problems. We plugged in too much stuff into the van. We were trying to consume too much power with the air conditioner on and all of our 120 volt stuff on. So we just ended up blowing this main fuse. Once I identified that this was the problem, we started making a bunch of calls around. We went to different, like AutoZone and O'Reilly's, trying to find this fuse. And the only place that we could find it was at West Marine. It was 140 miles away from us. We jumped in the van and raced down to Mobile to actually get this part. Once we arrived at West Marine, we went in, grabbed one plus a spare, and it's a very quick fuse change. You just unbolt the wire, put it on, bolt it back down. So everything worked out super easy in that regard. Now, when I was doing my research on this, here's the drawing from Thor. First off, this style fuse is called a MRBF fuse, and in the Thor drawing they call for a T fuse. So there is some significant differences in those fuses. However, this is a 150 amp fuse, and the fuses that are supposed to be installed are 250 amp. And so why that's important is because when we converted from our original stock batteries that came with the van and installed the Lithionics battery, I reused all the wiring, the fusing, everything. I just simply changed the location of that battery. This was the fuse that was installed. So it's the wrong fuse, it's undersized, and when we tried to plug in too many things to power it with the hot ambient weather and using our inverter, we blew the fuse. We have the system working. I put in the exact replacement fuse and everything seems to be working fine. I will follow up with Lithionics to see what they recommend, if they recommend me keeping the 150 or if I can upgrade to the 250. That's for the future to figure that piece out. But in the meantime, we are back up and running. Everything is working. And I apologize for doing such a bad job of filming and telling that story, but we were just under so much stress. So I'm just grateful that it's working. And so with that, I think that's where we're going to leave you guys today. Apologize again for not telling a very good story. We'll do better, and we'll see you next week.